not that we're saying that, you know, people that have a passion for things can't be part of. But I think that's one of the points that where we've always gone wrong as a community.
Absolutely.
We get a lot of passion, but we don't have a lot of qualification. And so when you're at certain tables, the fact that you're not qualified and you can't evidence your qualification. So qualification is not necessarily a degree or whatever, but qualification. Have you done this before? Where's your proof of concept? Where can we see that you have done this before and look at the outcomes and the impacts? So I'm glad that you said that, Dean, because I think that's really, really important for people that are thinking of doing things. But again, I bring it back to ADPAC. What is ADPAC and what does it do?
Okay, so I'm going to overarch it like this. When the environment we're in right now, that the Conservative Party has created for us, and it is a hostile environment, irrespective of the sophistication of our understanding. When we complain about racism, they will gaslight and tell us that we are in the wrong for talking about it. Now, umbrellas don't make it rain, but they do protect you from the water. So ADPAC is an umbrella organization. I think when I first exposed myself to the scene, whatever that is, about 4 years ago, there were people who thought I was seeking to duplicate what they were doing. Don't reinvent the wheel, don't. But what they didn't realize is I wanted a deeper understanding of their particular sector without wanting to come in their sector, because I see everybody as a delivery partner, as an umbrella organization. So ADPAC was always my vision without knowing exactly what ADPAC was. So I would go and spend time with all of the grassroots youth engagement organizations, rites of passage, mentoring, and just got to know everybody in those fields. Also in the strategic fields, also in the economic fields, people who have care homes, people who have old people's homes, service providers in the mental health industry. So literally going across every single field for 4 years. I was in like 140 WhatsApp groups where I would be active. I'm not well. I'm really not well. And I would be active in all of them for like, and that was for about 3 years. Jesus. And probably the same in Facebook groups. And I was active in all of them for 3 years. So what I was becoming was a human algorithm to track us, to understand what our temperature was, what we are ready for, who we are, who we aren't, what we have, what we don't, what is missing, and what needs to be done. Now, people might think that they saw me all over Facebook, but I was using LinkedIn more than I was using Facebook. And all of my meetings were with professionals that I was speaking with based on what I see them do in their careers in the world. So I would see a banker and I would take them to a members club, buy them a dinner and a drink and pick their brain, because I find that a peer education at my stage of life is far more valuable to circumvent the learning curves than me going and getting any qualification or saying I'm going to study this. That's a waste of time. I'm seeking to structure an umbrella organization. So I need the short version, and I will be there with my notes. A peer education is far more powerful at my stage of life to save time. So understanding that, I said, where can I find the most qualified people to not only become potential delivery partners in the future, but also to give me that peer education that I need, so that as the founder of an organization, I've got an understanding, a succinct understanding of all these various industries. So I ended up with around, this will be like the period that I closed my shop, around 6,500 African diaspora professionals from every single industry you can imagine. I rarely took connections from any other ethnicity, because I made a decision like Garvey. We can totally build out this machine by ourselves, bar None. We don't require anybody else. And we do, but we don't. So I looked at all of those who are at the highest echelons of what they do and made a decision. I'm going to meet them and I can converse with them. And I will build an infrastructure based on what they tell me needs to be done. Not by asking them, but by just picking their brains. So if you were telling me everything great that was going on in your industry, I'd be there listening like blah, 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 blah. My sweet spot is when you come to the problems, because now I want to kick in as a reverse engineer to see what we need to fix. If all of that is going well and we're in such a mess as a people, what's wrong? So I don't want to hear all the great stuff. I want to know what's wrong. Like in youth engagement, I know exactly what's wrong. Nobody needs to tell me anything, from youth mentoring, from the centers that we need, from the engagement with the mayor's office, and to our political engagement and our apathy, which is why we're in the condition that we're in. So also based on the fact that we ran a public event called the Thursday Club for a year. We did it for 6 months in Brixton and 6 months in Tottenham. And we covered topics like education, business, economics, Black love, spirituality. And we had people coming out between 100 and 200 people, and they were paying as well. So we knew that we had something, and we knew that the appetite was there. And where we like to repeat the rhetoric, which has been given to us by Europeans, in the same way that we became lazy when our labor stopped being free, I said, no, we can trust each other, those who can. Those who tell you that Black people are untrustworthy, and you should listen to them because they're telling the truth. But we are trustworthy. We are legion. Our numbers are immense, and we're making money, and we're intelligent. However, we are fragmented because we don't own the platforms. And then I went and did that research, and I found out just how many platforms we do own. And in this country, not in the States. So then I made colleagues of them. And then I said, we need media delivery partners. So like my brother Robert in HMP TV, Terry and Richie in Black Eyes TV, and there's a number of them, content over everything. I just started to draw in all of our broadcasters. And when we had the Thursday Club, we could have 4 of our broadcasters recording simultaneously, where it was going out over all of their platforms. So we really had a wide reach. And then I'm looking at comments and I'm saying, so here are the problems. But then it told me something as well. You've been running around with your purpose. You're going to end up in the same place as Malcolm X. Broke, possibly dead, definitely single, worst out of the year. And I looked around for all people's rhetoric. We celebrate people when they've transitioned. We don't celebrate them in life. And what I do know is that we do not want a hero. What we need is the institution that's functional. So it put it in context for me. What was the purpose of the Labour Party as opposed to the Conservative Party? The purpose was to set up the NHS after the Second World War that every single person benefit from, irrespective of their background. The purpose of the umbrella organisation ADPAC is for every single African Caribbean to benefit from nationally, irrespective of their income, their intelligence, their class. It's all irrelevant. You are an African diasporan, irrespective of your boat stop. This is an institution to protect you by nationally coordinating every single grassroots organization that we have. So what I needed to do in my isolation, because I couldn't convey it with my mouth as much as I tried, and people would not, because nobody wants to seem like they don't comprehend, do they? So people smile. And then when they talk to me in private, when we're not in a group, I realize they don't have a tube of glue what I'm talking about.
Real talk.
I said, what I need to do is shut off from the world and brain dump every single element into mind maps that are easy to comprehend, into structure, into policy. So if you download 50 PDFs, I have typed them. If you look at 50 models for the public health approach in how to create wraparound care for our young people, it's because I dumped it from my brain onto the page so that it was not only easily digestible, but then I went and found the delivery partners so that now when I step back, and I am going to step back and disappear, and nobody will, and I promise you this, nobody will even remember that I was here. In how to create wraparound. ADPAC will stand there alone, fully functional and fully autonomous from any non-African diaspora under our own determination, because our businesses will donate what would have been taxable income so that our people can live. So when people say to me, oh, you're a leader, I'm not a leader because you guys don't pay me. I'm Dino Kai, I do what I want, I say what I want, because you don't give me a penny. You pay tax to people who do not represent you. I'm nobody's leader. I'm not doing this because I want to save the kids or because I want to save Black people. I'm doing it because I'm addicted and because I'm qualified. And if I wasn't addicted and qualified, trust me, I would have abandoned it because there's no thanks in it. So all the people that come in for those naive reasons, like porn, when you're new, it's exciting. When nothing has happened or the same thing has happened for 50 movies, people move on. The resilience is in my spirit animal, that hard shell. I don't care what you think. My greatest superpower is not giving a damn what people think. However, my biggest weakness is not giving a damn what people think.
Amen to that, brother. Our strength is also our weakness. 100%. That goes for anything. Even if you think about us as you said, members of the Black diaspora, African diaspora, our strength is equally our weakness. I just could listen to
and we let everybody in. And we're not taking care of what needs to be taken care of.
100%. 100%. You know, in preparation for this evening, Dean, there were a lot of things going through my mind, and I wanted to just kind of get your perspective on things like the education system, and you know, where you feel, because obviously you've been so strategic, so you know you've got people qualified to speak from all areas. So this is not just one area, it's not just social justice, this is education, this is understanding the criminal justice element, this is every area of civic life. Not just pertaining to, so you've taken their model, but this is almost like the Black version,
Absolutely.
In every area. And I think that's absolutely brilliant, because often the concentration is on the areas that people perceive to be Black issues. And actually, Black issues are just like white issues. The whole thing is an issue, right? So I definitely agree with that. What's your perspective on education? You know, the great Paul Lawrence, who we both know, you know, sadly left us and left here. He was a great advocate for not just, you know, he liked ANOS simply because we were a place where we could informally educate the community. There's nothing fancy around here. We don't have a fancy website. But we're consistent. I think the strongest thing is that we're consistent in our delivery and keeping up those conversations. For you and education within, for us as a community, where do you think, and for parents, where do you think we're headed, and what can we do to ensure that we kind of fit in with the ADPAC model in terms of our mentality? That's what I'm interested to hear from you.
Well, I'm going to frame it with this first. We are globally grounded because there is an agenda for an entire reset for humanity. That reset, which is the fourth industrial revolution, is based on technology being the thing that contains us. Previously, man contained us. Now, because life is economic, when they replace the pound and the dollar with the digital central banks, which is why they're demonizing cryptocurrency so much now, so that they can, as many of them can go pop before they release the central digital currencies, we will be fully under their control. Now, he who pays the piper calls the tune. And if we go into a socialist state, just like we are, many of us are on benefits, which is one of the things that I made a decision when I was a kid I wouldn't do, because I would rather starve and learn by my nous to be free. So I wanted to frame it with that before I went into education. When I saw the rise of academies, I immediately knew they were going to be animal factories, because although the British education system wasn't designed for us, there was a place designed for us within it, where there was a dual language being spoken. So as I'm telling you about the conquerors of colonialism as if they're heroes, and then I'm telling you that you are an ethnic minority, I'm letting you know that you are a guest, you were conquered, you have no history that we're going to expose you to, which isn't a problem because it's about competition. And we're all playing for our respective teams. And we live in a race-based global economy, which has been created by Europeans, which is why I don't speak about race. I speak about our ethnicity. And the minute that we're speaking about our ethnicity, you know that black means absolutely nothing. And the people who purport to represent your interests will go in a room where everybody has said Turkish, Greek, Indian, Pakistani, and then when it comes to their turn, they'll say politically black, just to make everybody else know that it's safe, that they don't actually exclusively and specifically represent the interests of African Caribbean people, but that they can all have a taste of the money. That's what's happening. I will not mention any names, but I was in one of those meetings 2 weeks ago where everybody mentioned the specificity of their ethnicity. And then when it came to us, the representative that was there said politically black, and he did that in inverted commas. So my beef isn't with him, it's always to create the alternative. And it's like holding up cloudy water to clear water. The people, given the choice of what to consume, will always go with what is in their best interest. So there is no competition. Everybody is a delivery partner. We don't need to have beefs because we're not children and we're not rappers. It's merely about sticking to your lane. So when we come to education, we've got to speak about our lane. We've got to ask ourselves whether the mainly English women are culturally competent to teach our children, girls or boys. So I would say I could go with my experience, but as a professional, I don't speak about my experience because I understand the cross-cutting themes, which are historic, about undermining our young people. Now, because I've experienced it as a child, as a lay person, and then professionally observed it, I'm aware that it's systemic. So then what should be my approach to an English education? I no longer desire to fight you. It's now for me to go away, gather the cream of African Caribbean educators to create our own African Caribbean specific optimal educational curriculum, and then identify how we are going to purchase commercial freeholds to convert into schools across the boroughs where we are the mainstay, and then how to set up the educational trust, God's law, common law, legislative law. An educational trust lies in common law, which can't be touched by the government or any educational authority, which is why they can't do anything. So first of all, we must understand intrinsically all of the structures involved, which are intricate, which is why I don't speak to lay people. So I'd identified our sovereign trust right. And, so we don't have to follow anything. And then our children are fully protected and we don't have to answer to anybody. Okay, cool. So what we lack is the capital to realize the model, but we have the model. So you go over here, Kay Johnston has designed an entire educational curriculum. You go to Origin HQ, they've been operating with rites of passage for 20 years. And then just like a magnet, I just started attracting all of these people because I made the right noises. So they all came and sought me out. They all came and sought me out on LinkedIn. They all came and sought me out on Facebook. Very quickly, after about 6 months, my phone number became common public domain. So every single day, which I'm not doing anymore, I used to answer maybe 5-6 phone calls from numbers and people I'd never spoken to in my life. And it gave me absolute clarity about what needed to be done around the educational space. So first of all, we need the curriculum, but then we need to infuse all of the components. And that is what led me to understand what needed to be done with the public health approach. So you have groups like Access UK, who are doing a phenomenal job of identifying routes to employment, but also entrepreneurialism. You have Julian Hall with Ultra Kids. You have all of the rites of passage. Let me give them their credit. WYLA, MAG, Origin HQ, Manhood Academy. And then you have people like David Mullins with Father Figure. You have Father to Father. You've got the mentoring in Mentivity. So I came to know all of these guys and said, right, so we are able, and there is a female counterpart for all of those as well. And not only that, but when we say as parents, there's no book, stop, I beg. Exposure leads to expansion. All of those groups give parenting classes. Mm-hmm. I've been to Origin HQ graduation and Manhood Academy graduation in the same day whilst I was running my shop. So when people say they can't have the time, I run from my shop in the afternoon, gone to Manhood Academy graduation, and then I've gone to Origin HQs at 8 o'clock and I left around 1 o'clock in the morning. Must be something to one. And all those usual suspects from our community were there at both, who are few, where there is very heavy lifting needed that could be distributed amongst the many, which is why I talk about professionals, because we've got the Black teachers unions. So now we go to the source when we're talking about education, and we just, exposure leads to expansion. We expose them to the framework. So now we're all thinking about the same thing. And irrespective of we have our 9 to 5 in their schools, we are thinking about building out our schools and becoming a part of that mechanism. And it is merely time, capital, space between us realizing it, because we become very intentional about executing it. So we have to return to our cultural traditions, and supplementary schools are what produce the exceptional elders that we have. Mm-hmm. Pardons are what got our parents and grandparents freehold properties, not mortgages. And then we got mortgages later because they realized we were worth money. Like they realized that our children are worth money. Like now you're going to see, since the mayor's dropped 6.6 million, lots of people seeing that our children who are vulnerable are worth money. And everybody's going to become a county lines expert.
That's right.
But Paul Mackenzie was there, and Nana Ajiman was there, and many others were there a long time ago.
That's right.
At the source. So we deal with source like gold. The Queen can parade in her carriage, but your carriage's heart lies in Africa. Mm-hmm. So we don't kid ourselves.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. I'm glad I brought the rum punch, because I didn't know you were. I didn't bring an umbrella, but you said an umbrella doesn't necessarily bring the rain. But you've definitely brought some gems to us tonight, brother. Definitely.
We have the umbrella.
Definitely. You're getting a big up on Facebook from Martin Gale, who remembers you at school. He said your dad was a really good fella. So,
yeah,